Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Let's try to recapture the very reason we celebrate this wonderful season. Let's think back to yesterdays of kindness, respect, and simpler ways. Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas to all of you, as here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Merry Christmas. Well, good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, and I hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday, December the 13th, brought to you by, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and, of course, some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. Right now, let's go to the phone line and our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
You again?
I am. I'm in the festive cheer this week. So
well, good for you. Santa's elf is over there waiting to go with the pledge. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done, Wheels. Thank you, my friend, and Merry Christmas as we go along right now to our weather forecast, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for that blue door. My goodness, it's Christmas time. They've got all your home decor items, whatever you need to make your house a home. Carpet and flooring and kitchen construction. Oh, my goodness, call them or stop in today. 678-6945. Cheney Flooring and Home Design. And right now, here's the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we do get one day closer to Christmas. Today's going to be nice, but for the rest of the week, not so much. Partly cloudy skies for today, slightly breezy, expecting a high of 34 tonight, low of 20 tomorrow. Snow showers in the forecast all day long, high of 32, overnight low of 32, so we're not going to see that temperature moving much. For Thursday, winds are going to be picking up, and it's going to be warming up. Rain and snow showers mixed, high of 41 with an overnight low of 31. Snowy and windy for Friday with a high of 32. Then maybe partly cloudy skies for Saturday, going to be cold, high of 11 with an overnight low of -1. Yesterday's high was 37. The overnight low was 26. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Woo! Cold and chilly coming on. Cheney Flooring and Home Design bringing you the weather at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for that blue door, and by the way, just stop in and visit with them. Whatever you need to make your house a home at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Really, really nice people. They are so innovative, and they've got so many great ideas. Kyle and Whitney, you stop in and see Cheney Flooring and Home Design today. Hey, I want to remind you, there's going to be a sale within a sale this Thursday over at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Number to call for consignment information, 678-9411. Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy. They're going to have a special stock cow sale, and that's going to be within the regular sale. So in other words, they're going to start at 10 o'clock, bring the gavel down and say, let in lot number 29 and go to selling. Then at about 1 p.m., they're going to have a special stock cow sale right there at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard within the sale. So everybody be there this Thursday. Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 10 a.m. sale time on Thursday. We've got a lot of things to cover this morning, and we've got some great people coming on. Frosty Woldridge will be coming on, talking about sanctuary cities at 9:06. And then at 9:30, James Dale Davidson is talking about how our boots are on the edge of the cliff economically, and hopefully, the Trump administration can turn this thing around without falling into the abyss. At 10:06, Dr. History is going to be here. And at 10:32, Dr. John Zamirak, and basically talking about, would somebody please welcome the left back to reality? We're going to talk about that at 10:30, so don't go away. Don't forget Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Oh, they can clean anything, and you've still got time. Hurry in there today. Get those tablecloths ready and cleaned, or whatever you need cleaned for Christmas. I know you got the family coming over for dinner and everything. My goodness, don't waste a minute. They just opened up a few minutes ago, so stop over and see them at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, 878-8900. Absolutely the best. All right, don't forget, too, our friends over at SafeLink Internet. My goodness sakes, growing in people and technical support and hours that they serve you. My goodness, all you have to do is call for the fast, reliable service of SafeLink Internet. And the number is 677-8000. 677-8000. You call them today. Over 10,000 customers, and they'd love to work with you. SafeLink Internet, 677-8000. Okie doke. Let's see. Today we're celebrating a birthday. Did you know that? We're celebrating 380 years. That's right, 380 years here in America, the National Guard. That's right, the National Guard is celebrating their birthday today, and we salute all the members of the National Guard. Congratulations. Oh, and yesterday we ran a story on, we had John Horvat on our program, and we were talking about 10 million men. That is the estimated number right now nationwide, that in basic terminology, and I'm going to call it like it is, are too doggone lazy and slovenly to get up off the couch and go to work in this country. And they become nothing more than leeches on the system, on other people and organizations to exist. Well, many are here in Magic Valley. Don't think you're immune to this problem and think it's only, Chicago, Indianapolis, Fort Lauderdale, New York. No. We've got some of those same deadbeats right here. And, I'm going to maintain and I'm going to push for our state and our representatives to try and push for legislation. I don't know how we're going to get it done. I haven't talked to anybody yet, but I'm going to. That we are going to go on a county-by-county basis, file by file, and get rid and sort out the deadbeats. And from that time that they're sorted out, they have 60 days. 60, to get up, get to work, and be productive, or baby, you're out in the cold and you have not got anybody that's going to take care of you. We've got to eliminate the drain on our welfare. We've got to eliminate the drain on the public trough. I mean, the money that's going in there, we're just pouring it down the hole. And there are definitely people that need help. They will not get weeded out. There are definitely family situations that need help. They will not get weeded out. But the ones that are the deadbeats, the ones that are milking and ilking the system out of all they can get, those are the ones that I want to see standing out in the cold going, I think I better work now because it's chilly and I'm hungry. Your thoughts, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Right after I do this commercial break, I've got a story that just irritates me because it's happening here. It's happened in almost every state, and it's getting worse. And we're going to talk about it in just a minute. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. They open the doors at 7:30 in the morning, and they stay open until 5 o'clock Monday through Friday. And they've got all your furnace filters to keep your furnace running efficiently. All your heating and electrical needs, everything. And with that forecast that Gina had this weekend, it's going to be really cold. That polar vortex is going to spread over the entirety of the United States. Yeah, take that, you global warming enthusiasts. And it's going to get down below zero. So make sure your furnace is operating efficiently. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. As you know, we are going to be over at Denny's Restaurant on Thursday, day after tomorrow. And I am urging everybody to come by. Now, this is our Christmas, our old-fashioned Christmas special. We're going to have special prizes, and we're putting up prizes for an ugly sweater contest. I got to tell you, I'm ready. I went with Deanne yesterday, and she picked out an ugly, oh, baby, is it an ugly Christmas sweater? I don't know if I want to wear that puppy or not. But anyway, we're going to wear it, and we're going to have a contest to see who has, in the men's division and the ladies' division, the ugliest Christmas sweater. We're going to get all the people there, and Santa Claus is going to be the judge. I just thought I'd better tell him. So that's going to be over at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. This Thursday, we're broadcasting live and direct from 8:06 to 11, and we're going to have the Oakley Choir. They're singing. I've heard they are phenomenal. And this is going to be on Thursday. Don't miss it. America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. One person complained in a town called, I got to get this right here, Knightstown, Indiana. And one person said, oh, that cross on top of that Christmas tree, that offends me. And I drive to work in the morning, and I don't like to see that cross on top of that Christmas tree. So take it down. And you know what? The city council kowtowed to this one man by the name of Joseph Tompkins. Now, this town, Knightstown, Indiana, is a town of about 2,200 people. And Tompkins alleged that the display violates the separation of church and state. No, it does not, and they're a bunch of cowards back in Knightstown. And he said in court documents that he is forced to come into direct contact and unwelcome contact with this cross on the tree every day going to work. So he wants it down. Well, the mayor and the town council, like the cowards that most people are, they put their tail between their legs and they scurried over to the tree and took down the cross. Well, this teed off a lot of people in Knightstown, Indiana. And they all gathered out in front of the cross, bringing homemade crosses in protest. And God bless them, I'm glad they did. Because the city council, as with many city councils and city leadership across the United States, they didn't know the law, they didn't understand it, and the threat of a lawsuit turned them into milk cheese cowards. And they let one man tear the cross down off the Christmas tree. How pathetic is that? We've lost our backbone in this country, and we've lost what Christmas stands for. I have no time for cowards. And Knightstown, Indiana, the leadership is worthless. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Want to remind you, Rogge Auction, Ron Cage, Jed, the best auctioneers around. If you're selling farms or farm equipment, don't forget Rogge Auction. They are good. 431-0074. Wishing you a very Merry Christmas, Rogge Auctions. And the Book Plaza with Colonel Dale, my friend. And he's everybody's friend. What a great, great guy he is. And they're located at 222 West 11th Street in Burley. And for you last-minute, last-second Christmas shoppers, it's all there at the Book Plaza. My goodness, books and special figurines and all kinds of really unique gift giving right there at the Book Plaza. And mention my name and you'll get possibly some really good used books. Yeah, talk about it. Yeah, go mention my name. Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. Wishing you a very Merry Christmas. You know, yesterday this happened to where we were kind of late on getting calls in here. But Johnny be good. Here we go. Here's our first caller. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Hey, bud.
Hey, I like what that town folks are doing. They're putting wooden crosses everywhere.
Yep, I love it.
I do, too. And if I'd been on that city council, I'd have put a wooden cross on every tree around town.
Oh, yeah. Now, isn't this ridiculous in a small town? And a statement was made by one of the pastors in that town that the tree basically is surrounded by churches almost on every corner in Knightstown, Indiana, and there's a cross on top of every church.
Exactly. Next, he's going to go after the churches.
Absolutely.
Take your cross down.
You know, Doug, the whole thing boils down to, and I know a lot of people get offended when I say this because I've had their nasty emails and some of their unknown caller calls, and they say, how dare you say this and how dare you say that? How dare you call these people cowards? Yes, they are. Anybody that can't stand up for, first of all, let's just say it in secular terms, Christmas is a federal holiday. And quite frankly, everybody has the right to enjoy Christmas, not just for the basic reason of Christmas, but because it is also a federal holiday.
Exactly. And I love what Trump's saying. He's saying you can say Merry Christmas again.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. To the dingbats in our society that are offended by a cross or a Christmas tree or the nativity scene, get a life. And also to the other side of the cowards that wilt under any pressure, shame be heaped upon you.
Yeah, get a backbone.
Yeah, really.
Anyway, and I tried to call yesterday. I was busy with my dad yesterday morning, but about this welfare stuff and this 10 million man deal.
Yeah, I tell you what, that made me so mad yesterday I wanted to punch holes in the wall.
Yes. But what I've heard is that they're going to bring back the work welfare deal like they used to have.
They should have.
And you should. I feel if you're on welfare, you need to volunteer at least 20 hours a week at a senior center, at a hospital.
Absolutely.
At a community hospital or at the schools or anywhere, 20 hours a week before you get anything.
Well, wait a minute. I'll be a little more lenient than you are on this. I would say that the twist is that, yes, there has to be community service. Yes, perhaps do something as far as aiding and abetting the county or the city as far as cleanup campaigns or whatever. You know what? If you're going to be on the public dole and you are physically able, I'm telling you what, partner, put down the bonbons, turn off Oprah, because I'm chasing you out the front door.
Exactly. I don't know how those guys look themselves in the mirror in the morning.
There's no more pride in America, Doug. Doug, there is no more pride in America. These lazy, slovenly, worthless men that won't go to work. That was the bottom line of the story yesterday by John Horvat. They will not take a job. They won't even look for a job.
I know it. And it is so sad, and I don't understand how someone can sit in the house all day long.
I don't either.
Do nothing, and sit there all night and do nothing.
Well, they're not men. They're not men. They are nothing more than amoebic cells laying in a lazy boy that absolutely are nothing more than pond scum because they're too lazy to be contributing or even helping themselves to achieve goals in a life that God gave them, and right now they are worthless.
That's right. And can I talk about helping some people?
Let me do a commercial break first.
Yes, sir. sir.
Okay. You know, sometimes you and I get to rambling, and then all of a sudden the clock says, no, no, no. Okay, hang on. Don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. I talked to Nick yesterday, and right after Christmas, I'm going to start going back down there again. I got to get back to exercising. And they are the best. They know all the exercises, all the sports medicine. They've got the hydrotherapy pool. Oh, that is so good. Please call them for an appointment, 678-1191. They will help you get back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation in Burley, 678-1191. Real quick, before we get Doug back on the line, Barry Equipment and Rental, they have all the equipment to get the job done right. I don't care what you need, it's there. They've got all the equipment rentals, they've got all the retail equipment sales, and right now they're selling a lot of their rental Bobcat equipment, used rental Bobcat equipment, at 0% interest on 48 months. You can't beat that with a stick. I'm telling you, it's great. South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Barry Equipment and Rental. You stop in and see them today. And now for more of the Dougie Show, here he is.
Anyway, I'm going to get on my bandwagon again, up on my stump, talking about helping the senior centers.
Okay.
And I don't care if it's Rupert, Burley, Twin Falls, Haley, wherever it is. We need to feed it forward. And I've done some figuring. If we get 1,000 people that would donate $10 a month to the senior centers, we would be helping them at $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, $10 a month. And you can go to your bank, pick the senior center you want, find out where their bank is, get their bank account. You can go to your bank and have an automatic withdrawal at 10, 20, whatever you want per month. That's $120 a year per individual if they do that.
Yep.
And also, if you're old enough where you can become a member of a senior center, go sign up, whether you go there or not. Because the more members they have, the better the more stuff they can get from the federal government.
No, I agree with you. And Doug, sometimes over the last 20 years, I've felt like I'm beating my head against the stone wall of coming out every day and preaching on the radio about the Meals on Wheels and everything else and the senior centers, because it just seems like it was falling on deaf ears. And so it's really gratifying to me to have somebody like you call in and say basically the same things.
Exactly. And if you can't give once a month, at least make a donation once a year to them, like Christmas time, whenever.
Yep.
It is tax deductible. And I know for a fact I'm getting associated with the one over at Rupert. I'm running for the board over there. But I know for a fact there's going to be 2 months coming up in, I'm not sure which month it is, where they'll get zero money from the federal government because of the cutback.
Yeah, I know it. And we've got to do something. There's so many people that are homebound that can't get out, and we need to help them. Doug, as you heard, I've got to move another call, and I've got a commercial break. God bless you, man. Thank you, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And remember, feed it forward.
Thank you, buddy. I love that. Feed it forward. I like that. Caller, I'll be right there, I promise. Don't you dare go away. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Look out for that get-out-of-jail-free card. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with the lovely Dr. Christine Pickup. Oh, my, the only locally owned and independent hearing healthcare practice in southern Idaho. They are good, and believe me, it was a real treat for me to go over. I had a little problem with my right ear, and, boy, she helped us a lot. She can help you. You'll be hearing what you're missing. Oh, boy, you better get a hearing screening today. Call 312-0957. 312-0957, right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room, the best. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Caller, good morning and Merry Christmas to you.
Well, good morning and Merry Christmas to you too, my friend.
Well, thank you.
Well, this welfare situation that we have, welfare started out to be a really good thing. It was not intended to be a 7-generation career.
Yeah.
It was designed to help people get a hand up to improve their circumstances. And anybody can do that, but the people who really need it can't even get accepted anymore. That's the sad thing. We have 5-generation families of welfare who are perfectly capable of going out and getting a job. There is lots of jobs out there. They just don't want to take them. It's beneath them.
Well, Donna, the situation with our welfare program in the United States and the leeches on the system is quite frankly the same, and I heard this said last night, and I agree with it. A former police captain in Chicago was on television equating that the gang problem, like in Chicago, is a generational thing that actually has gone from grandfather to son to now grandson, and it's just like welfare. Once they learn that they can take the system for everything they need, they're not going to work. They're not going to get off the couch. They're going to sit there with their tin cup and just let the money flow in. And this is what we've got to stop.
Yeah, I totally agree. These people who take advantage, they're the ones out there causing hate and discontent.
Yep.
And, there are some really good people out there that would take a hand up and make something of themselves. They just need a hand. And that's what the welfare, system was designed for in the first place.
Yeah.
So I think hopefully Trump can change things. It's just like the Disability Act and all this. Yeah, there's a lot of fraud going on in the United States government.
Well, when I think and I hear about the disability fraud that you just mentioned, I absolutely sit back with a disdainful chuckle because there are so many, like again using the term because that's what they are, leeches that are collecting money on disability that are probably 10 times healthier than you or myself.
You're definitely right. We both are in situations where we could use the hand up maybe once in a while, but, I've got a lot of that German pride in me.
Yeah.
My father never asked for anything in his life. Always gave what he could. Raised 8 children. And he raised us to be independent and not expect anything for nothing. Nothing is free.
No.
Nothing is free. Somebody has to pay.
Amen. But I'll tell you what, to wrap it up, you hit the key word. I think that today we are looking at a bunch of deadbeats, derelicts, and wannabes that have lost the word pride. And we've got to reinstill pride to get up, be something, make something of yourself, and use the life that God gave you to be a betterment to your community.
I totally agree with you, sir.
All right, see you at noon.
See you at noon.
Oh.
Have a good day.
All right, God bless.
Bye.
Thank you so much. I love those folks. They're really good. I'll take some more calls in just a minute. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to tell you about Joy Behar from that way out in left field program called The View. This woman, just looking at her, is repulsive enough. But when you listen to her, oh, boy. Anyway, stand by for that. Don't forget Streamline Precision and my dear, dear friend Tim Vaughn, 431-7314. You know, right now, I mean this minute, run to the phone. If you need a new building put up on your farm, your dairy, your ranch, your business, or if you need dairymen, if you need feed lanes and mangers, or if you need new structures, you need them now, you're getting ready for next spring, hey, now's the time to have them go to work for you. Streamline Precision. Tim Vaughn, you call for bids right now this moment. 431-7314. Streamline Precision, and they wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Hey, I know this next ad is going to get a lot of people on the edge of their seat going, oh, boy. Let's go skiing up at Pomerel. Oh, my goodness, a ski alert. Yep, for all the skiers and snowboarders. Pomerel will be open daily beginning this Friday, the 16th, with resort hours from 9 in the morning to 4 p.m. The lodge and food service open. The ski sport group and private lessons will be there. Ski boarding equipment rentals are in full operation. And you know what they're going to have 2 days after Christmas? On the 27th, they're going to start night skiing from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Tuesday through Saturdays. And you know what else you got up there at Pomerel? You got a great idea to help somebody else get enthused about skiing. Learn about skiing. Yeah, go skiing. And you can buy gift certificates at the ticket office, and that would be a great stocking stuffer. All of this going on at Pomerel Mountain Resort. Check it out. Resort office phone 673-5599 or go to the web pomerel.com. Ski time here in the Magic Valley at Pomerel. Absolutely good folks up there. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Joy Behar, along with her, well, I'll tell you the story in a moment. We seem to have a call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, kind of an example of this kind of attitude of people that, city entities that allow these types of things. I mean, what I'm trying to say here, there was a terrible fire in Oakland, California. Oakland, California has been a democratically ran city for as long as you and I could remember. And there was a warehouse, and these people were just shacking up in there, so to speak. They were just, come and go. They weren't really residents. They didn't really pay rent. The fire district didn't check to see. If you own a business, and it's a public business, you have fire inspections every year, and which is good. And in this case, the city of Oakland, the fire district, for whatever the reason, never did check this, but these people were just transients. They were just living in there, and it was an absolute sty. So in the end, the 33 people lost their lives because of, slothful behavior at a government. They couldn't do their job.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of thing that Democratic leadership gets us.
That deal was just absolutely a death pit waiting to happen with all the paints and the turpentines and all the flammable materials and people living in, like you said, in absolute poor conditions in a fire trap of an old warehouse. And it's despicable. But, this is what we're breeding, if you will, in this country. And the terminology, I think, is appropriate. We're letting these people take the system and milk the system for what they can get for doing nothing and putting forth no effort. And Randy, we've got to stop this. I still maintain, and I was chastised for this a couple of years ago, when I said on a county by county, or even city by city, county by county, state by state, we need to start going through every single file of people that are getting welfare and go in and find out who they are, what their health conditions are, and if they can work, cut them off, baby, and make them get to work.
Well, I tell you what, we just can't sustain this. I was not over Thanksgiving, my daughter's friend came back, and she had spent time in San Diego. And then I have a friend of mine who is a contractor, and he goes down and pulls permits down at the city of Los Angeles, the courthouse. And he told me she was in San Diego, goes to Los Angeles, and she told me the homeless in those cities is so rampant that it just goes on for blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks, and nobody does anything for them.
Randy,
the Democratic leadership doesn't help them. They don't do anything for them.
Yeah.
It's just an absolute, you can't even imagine what a terrible, filthy mess it is.
Well,
and this is the thing. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Randy, I know so many employers and business leaders in this area because I work with only the cream of the crop on my program, the best of advertisers and sponsors. And I'm not going to mention names, but I know I have talked to many, many of them, and they said, you know what our problem is today? We can't find people that want to go to work. Randy, the problem is not that there's no jobs. The problem is not that there's not opportunity. The problem is we've got a bunch of lazy slobs that won't get up off the chair and go to work.
Well, the thing of it is this is where the Department of Education, which really should be dashed, but where the teachers, the education system, and then, of course, parenting. You know, the parents that raised you and I, they're a different breed now.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I don't want to be rude or anything, but...
Oh, why not?
Getting it done like maybe they ought to. Now, my children, I think, are doing a pretty good job. But I tell you what, it's scary.
Well, I'll tell you what we need to do. I've said this so many times, and I know that somebody out there with very closed-captioned hearing is going to say, well, I didn't hear you say that. Well, I'll say it again. We need to have a welfare system that helps those that are in definite need, bad family situations that have gone awry, accidents, whatever. I'm all in favor of that. But, there has to be a termination point once people get back towards the optimism that they can go back to work and be contributing members of our society. But we have right now, and I don't think you'll argue this, we have a large percentage, like the 10 million men that was talked about yesterday by John Horvat. We've got lazy people that expect handouts for the rest of their life. And Randy, we got to stop this.
Well, that's the thing. See, the welfare system needs to be streamlined. It needs to be efficient. The welfare workers need to quit. Nobody audits this stuff.
Absolutely.
They just get a check.
Yeah.
That one guy goes every once a year he'll go in and he'll talk to his welfare worker. The rest of the time he's on the beach.
Yeah.
And he gets he goes surfing and then he chases women and he's on welfare. And he always gets his check and he says, "Why should I work?"
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, if I had the controls, he'd have 60 days to have his wine, women, and song, and then he's going to be sitting there crying the blues. Randy, I got to run, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, take care. Don't forget Bedkey Treasure Barn. Hello over to Bedkey Treasure Barn. They're open Tuesdays through Saturdays, 10 to 5. Daryl and the rest of the crew serving you with a very unique large inventory of things that you might not have thought of, and this would make it all the more interesting for you to get over there for your Christmas shopping. Bedkey Treasure Barn at 1558 Normal Avenue on the corner of 16th and Normal in Burley. Oh my! Everything from barber chairs clear to collectible toys. I mean, this is quite a place. Stop in today. Bedkey Treasure Barn in Burley at 1558 Normal Avenue in Burley. Great, great, innovative store. Let's see, what else have we got here to tell you about? Oh, we're going to be over at Denny's day after tomorrow on Thursday for the old-fashioned Christmas. And we're going to have an ugly sweater contest. Come on in. Wear your ugly sweater. We're going to have other contest prizes, too, but the ugly sweater contest, and we're going to have a division for men and women for a special prize. So, boy, I'm going to have my ugly sweater on, and it is ugly. So we'll plan on seeing you there from 8 to 11 on Thursday. We'll have the carolers from Oakley High School, prizes, all kinds of fun at Denny's, America's Diner, for the old-fashioned Christmas party. Everybody be there. Oh, and by the way, my old friend, and I emphasize the word old friend, Doug Martin, he just called a little bit ago. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair at 635 21st Street, Alfresco Road in Hayburn. And Doug wishes everybody a Merry Christmas. And don't forget, if you've got problems with your starters, alternators, or generators, yup, he can rebuild them or sell you a brand new one. Yup, open 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. This is a good old boy. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair in Hayburn. Number to call, 878-4991, or after hours, 431-5282. All right, your turn. Give me a call. 436-2244. 1-866-927-4587. Once again, about Joy Behar, real quick. This redheaded, very unattractive woman on The View said yesterday that with Trump as president, We should put the hammer and sickle on the United States flag. And she, Joy Behar, she's nothing. She demands that Trump step down immediately. You know, I had to laugh when I saw this last night. Joy Behar is possibly and very probably the most unattractive woman on television. And for her to make a demand to Donald Trump to step down, that's like standing in the middle of a hurricane saying, "Don't you dare blow me over." I mean, come on. Joy, she absolutely has caused so much trouble and so much animus being a very extreme liberal. She can't stand conservatives at all or the GOP. And she just doesn't seem to understand politics at all. And she demands that Donald Trump step down immediately. You know, and I'll say this. It's not Russia that I'm really worried about. I know a lot of you people out there are sitting there going, "Hey, well, what are you talking about?" No, it's not Russia that I'm worried about right now at all. It's Islam. That's right. It's the Islamic Jihad. We are, I think, deaf, dumb, and blind as to the real potentiality of a problem that is growing like a cancer, not just here, but all across the world. And it's easy to point the finger at Russia and Putin, etc. But maybe you better curl that finger back and point it at the Islamic Jihad, because that, I think, is the number one problem in the world today. And it's not just me that feels that way. We're going to have some guests coming on later this morning that also share that same thought. We got to get the weather in here real fast. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget our dear friend Kyle James. Hello, Kyle, with all of his great staff in 3 locations at Riverview Urgent Care, 382 North Overland and Burley, Twin Falls Urgent Care, 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin Falls, and Jerome Urgent Care, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. I mean, whether you got a sinus infection, a laceration, a real bad cough, or whatever, you stop in. They can help you with minor emergencies, major care. They're open 7 days a week serving you at the urgent cares. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we do get one day closer to Christmas. Today's going to be nice, but for the rest of the week, not so much. Partly cloudy skies for today, slightly breezy, expecting a high of 34 tonight, low of 20 tomorrow. Snow showers in the forecast all day long, high of 32, overnight low of 32, so we're not going to see that temperature moving much. For Thursday, winds are going to be picking up, and it's going to be warming up. Rain and snow showers mixed, high of 41 with an overnight low of 31. Snowy and windy for Friday with a high of 32. Then maybe partly cloudy skies for Saturday. Going to be cold, high of 11 with an overnight low of -1. Yesterday's high was 37. The overnight low was 26. That is your weather for Zebeth Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Brought to you by the Urgent Cares. Kyle James and his great staff. Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, Twin Falls Urgent Care in Twin Falls, and Jerome Urgent Care in Jerome. Minor emergencies, major care. Oh, come on. Don't just sit there. Give me a call on the landline. Let's hear from you. While I remind you, Merry Christmas wishes from the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce. Yes, great folks, Kyla and the crew over there at 1177 7th Avenue in Heyburn, and the great gift shop in the front of the Chamber office. Man, they've got some great Christmas gift-giving ideas at the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce. Along with Dot Foods, our thanks to Dot Foods at 1541 West 27th Street in Burley. Oh, they say thank you to the Minnecasia area for all their support. They've got great employees, great business as the nation's largest food industry redistributor. Dot Foods, wishing you and yours a Merry Christmas. And La Vintage Boutique. This is a really neat store at 1240 Oakley Avenue in Burley. And they've got new seasonal hours to help you with all your shopping needs. And I really suggest you get in there because of awesome Christmas ideas, many one-of-a-kind gifts, and they can also personalize those gifts. This La Vintage Boutique is the place to shop for Christmas at 1240 Oakley Avenue in Burley. And they all wish you Merry, Merry Christmas. All right, your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you see last night on Tucker Carlson this absolutely goofy and zany college professor that was completely befuddled by Carlson's questions, very direct questions, very honest, open, forthright questions, about this professor's stand that Donald Trump is a white supremacist? I mean, come on. When is this all going to end? Anybody that is with the GOP, anybody that calls themselves a Republican, now it's so easy, it just rolls off their tongue, the Democrats, to call conservatives or Republicans, oh, well, you belong to the GOP, you're a white supremacist, or you're a racist, you're a bigot and a hate monger. Well, this stupid professor said that in Trump's words and actions. Now, that is pretty hard to define when some nincompoop like this professor says, in his words and actions, Trump is a racist and believes in white power. Okay, I'll put the challenge out there. Carlson didn't say this last night, but I will. Prove it. Bring it on. Tell me or show me the words and actions that Trump is a racist and believes in white power. You know, where do these people get off doing this? If the roles were reversed, can you imagine what the liberal media would do to chastise and belittle and absolutely try to bury the reverse of this story if it were happening? Oh, they'd come after me and have the plug pulled. I just don't understand these crazy college professors. I got another story about a nutty professor. Listen to this one. You won't believe it. I'll say it real quick. I got to get some other good words on in here. A lady professor at Orange County College in California. She got up in front of the class and went on a tirade against Donald Trump. Oh, he's bad, he's this, he's that. I can't even use some of the language she used. And a couple of the kids in the class, this is a college course, 20, 21-year-old people, they took their cell phones and they videoed and taped her tirade. Oh, she went nuts, and she demanded at the end of her tirade that anyone in the class who voted for Donald Trump stand up so the rest of the class can see you. And the rest of the class can understand you're a vile person and you're a racist and a bigot. Well, these students let this tape get out. And I saw it on television last night. But you will not believe what the college, Orange County College, did. They took the side of the teacher, and now they're trying to sue the students that took the taping of the teacher's tirade. This is nuts. I can vividly remember when I was in college, we used to take little tape recorders with us so we could tape what the professor was teaching in that particular class and go back and study the notes and study his verbiage and make sure we had the things ready for the next exam. This is nothing new, but no. Due to the fact that this is the liberal mindset, we got to get these doggone conservatives. Why, they can't have this. We got to stop them. They're putting the students on trial. And this is what's so insane. This school stands behind this repulsive teacher, and fortunately, a couple of lawyers, pro bono, went to work to defend these students, and I think this college, Orange County College in California, they got more trouble right now than they anticipated, and they're definitely going to lose this. You can bet on it. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of snow and ice tires, and you heard the forecast. Whoa, it's going to get ugly this weekend and cold. So first thing I want to remind you is have your battery checked. Go in and have your battery checked, and if it's not a good battery, get rid of that puppy and get a new one. They've got all the batteries you need right there at all Magic Valley Les Schwab tire centers. Check out all the tires for snow and ice. Check out, of course, front end alignments, the best in brake service, everything at your Magic Valley Les Schwab tire centers. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. Yep, your Magic Valley Les Schwab tire centers. Oh, my goodness, I didn't have time for a lot of the other stories. The Democrats are calling for the Electoral College, 530 electors, to change their votes. Yeah, the Democrats have even made direct threats to members of the Electoral College, even death threats. The left is comprised of poor, pathetic people. This is outrageous. I'm going to take a little break and come back. Frosty Woolridge going to be on the program next half hour. Don't miss a minute of it. Zeb at the Ranch on a Tuesday. And again, I want to remind you that Thursday morning we're going to be broadcasting live and direct from Denny's Restaurant, and that's, of course, America's Diner, for our old-fashioned Christmas party. Everybody try to be there. Wear an ugly sweater. You might win a prize. Okay? I'm going to take a little break for about 7 minutes, and we'll come rolling back here right after the CBS News. And now, hopefully, a little Christmas music with my old friend Santa's Best Elf. Here comes Wheels. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, my goodness sakes, they've got a great idea over there at Western Waste Services, running out of Christmas ideas. What they get, Aunt Martha and Uncle Fred? Well, hey, listen, how about a gift certificate to have their garbage picked up for 1 year, a month, whatever? Hey, call 734-6969. Always at your disposal, Western Waste Services. What a great gift-giving idea. Call them today, 734-6969. Real quick reminder, every morning when we start the program off at 8:06, we have our weather forecast, and the weather is brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for that blue door, whatever you need to make your house a home, at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Really good people. You know, I'm going to do a couple of more quick ads so I don't have to interrupt my dear friend Frosty in just a moment. I've got a lot of things to talk to him about. I want to remind you about Quality's Electronics at 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Oh, my. They're having a great big Christmas sale right now. You better get in there. Hours 9 to 7 Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 on Saturdays. Great deal on television. From the itty-bitty screens of 19 inches all the way to the big dudes of 85-inch screen sizes. Everything's on sale. Stop in and see them today. Merry Christmas from Quality's Electronics at 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Oh, and by the way, there's going to be a ripping stock cow sale in the regular sale at the Burley Livestock Sale this Thursday. Now, the regular sale is going to start at 10 o'clock. Then about 1 p.m. in the afternoon, they're going to have a great big stock cow sale. They got about 500 head of stock cows, some old, some young, some middle-aged cows. This is really going to be a ripping good sale on Thursday. Burley Livestock Sale Yard, regular sale time starting at 10 a.m., and then about 1 o'clock, they're going to start that stock cow sale. Don't you miss it at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Right now, without further ado, here comes my dear friend from Golden, Colorado, Frosty Woolridge. Good morning, sir. How are you?
And good morning, Zeb, and a very Merry Christmas to everyone listening across Radio Land and across America. I know, for one, you are becoming quite the popular talk show radio host because you are addressing more than the mainstream media, and certainly you are addressing the concerns of Americans across this country from California all the way to Maine. So it's an honor to be with you this morning.
You know, Frosty, your friendship over the many, many years has meant so much to me because you are so knowledgeable about what's going on in this country and what's being a negative on our economy and also our immigration system. I made the comment last week that American taxpayers should organize a huge tax-paying revolt. Those are the words I used in my blog, Cow Pies and Coffee Cups. No money on April 15th until the government stops this idiocy and lunacy by allowing sanctuary cities to go on in the United States because our taxpayer dollars are aiding and abetting the criminal element. What are your thoughts? Am I right or wrong?
Well, you're totally correct. I've been fighting sanctuary cities when I used to live in Boulder, Colorado. I actually stood up in front of the city council and had actually one of the city council turn his back on me while I was talking about turning every lawyer loose on every city council member and the mayor of the city for creating a sanctuary city because of the rapes and the burglaries and the shoplifting and, of course, all of the consequences of illegal immigrants being given immunity there in Boulder, Colorado. They were overrunning our schools. Their kids were taking our breakfasts and lunches. And anyway, when he turned his back on me, I said, the only reason you're able to do that is because all of the veterans, and myself included, served in the United States military. And that's what gave you the ability to do that. But this is a land, this is a country of the rule of law, and you are in violation of the rule of law. And the same thing is going on with Emmanuel up there in Chicago. You certainly have it de Blasio in New York. You've got it in Denver, Colorado is a sanctuary city with John Hickenlooper, who used to hire illegal aliens. In fact, one of those illegal aliens killed an officer named Donnie Young, and now he's the governor, and everybody's overlooking this. But the fact is, the American people, whether it's Kate Steinle over there, the big one in San Francisco in the past year, or the tens of thousands of other illegal alien crimes that have been committed against American citizens, we shouldn't have to pay for this. And I think what you did in your Cow Pies blog is just outstanding. And the American people need to stand up and stop sanctuary cities. And I'm hoping that Donald Trump will be the first man to literally put out an executive order or whatever it takes to defund and stop sanctuary cities and expose illegal immigrants to the laws that they should be exposed to, and then arrest them, certainly prosecute them and deport them, or put them in jail, because so many of them are not just regular illegal immigrants that jumped our borders. There are tens of thousands of them, if not hundreds of thousands of them, that are criminals. And that's what we need to do, take action against them.
You know, Frosty, elaborate a little bit on the story in Kentucky that you and I want to be fair to the audience and let them know that you and I conversed before the program this morning at about 7 o'clock about this illegal alien that had been deported, I think, 8 times and just recently ran over a couple of women standing by the roadside with a broken down vehicle, and then after killing them, ran away, and he's still at large. This would have never happened. 8 times deported? What kind of lunacy is that, Frosty?
You know, and that's the problem. As a matter of fact, I've got his name right here. His name was a Mexican illegal alien who was previously deported 8 times and fled the scene of a fatal accident. Has been charged with illegal reentry, and a warrant has been issued for his arrest. His name is Miguel Angel Velasnor Socido, and he's 40 years old, and he was right there in Louisville, Kentucky. This is a travesty against American citizens, because this man already should have been serving literally endless time in U.S. prison for jumping the border 8 times. And yet, because Barack Obama has invited all of these illegal aliens into this country, who has suspended any kind of enforcement of our laws, we get to be the the victims of this. And there's no way you can defend. Here's two women got killed because Barack Obama and U.S. Congress have not done their jobs in the last 8 years, in the last 30 years.
That's right.
And if you feel a little bit of tension in my voice, it could have been my wife.
Yes.
It could have been my kids. It could have been your kids. You could have been Kate Steinle, her parents. To see this kind of thing happen has got to end. And we, the American people, we voted Donald Trump into office, and I suspect he's going to take tremendous action to stop this. But in the meantime, we become the victims, and people like this farcical president called Barack Obama pretends that he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, and he's doing nothing at all, along with all of these different sanctuary city mayors and city councils. They're all in violation of U.S. law.
You know, the thing is, let's just break this down so that my audience can hear this across the United States. We are actually accomplices, and we are aiding and abetting illegalities and criminality in this country by letting our tax dollars go to the federal government so they in turn can help fund these sanctuary cities. If it were any other circumstance where you housed an illegal alien or a criminal and you would be complicit with the crime for hiding that criminal, you would be arrested for being an accomplice. We are accomplices to these sanctuary cities and the criminality that goes on in there by giving our tax dollars to the government to fund them. And I say, cut the money off and say not one damn dime until you get rid of these things.
Well, and I agree with you. And one of the things that needs to be done is that we have to have congresspersons in office and elected to office that will literally support the laws that are already on the books. You won't get that from a de Blasio. You won't get that from a Rahm Emanuel. You won't get that from the, I think it's Newsom, Gavin Newsom of San Francisco. You won't get it from the mayor of Los Angeles. And the reason for that is because there's so many illegal aliens, there's so much corruption, there's so much skimming of all the monies off the top, and so many people are making so much money from this that everything is being obfuscated by the mainstream press, and then we get to be the victims. Like I said, I'm going to support everything Donald Trump. In fact, I'm going to go down and volunteer 2 to 3 weeks of my time to help build the wall, because that's what the American people elected Donald Trump for, and I am praying that he starts simply enforcing the laws of this country to go after anyone who's going to harbor, transport, or employ an illegal alien, and let's get these 20 to 30 million people out of our country. We don't need them, we don't want them, and they're in violation of our laws. And we need to extradite them out of this country, put them in jail, or whatever it takes to stop this invasion of our country.
There's one other subject I wanted to hit on with you this morning, because I know it's going to raise the hair on the back of your neck like it did mine yesterday. I had John Horvat, author, on my program yesterday, and he's written an outstanding piece about over 10 million men in America that are able-bodied men, and they refuse to go to work. They refuse to go get a job. They are leeching off their aging parents, their wives, their girlfriends, the government, whatever. They just don't want to work, and they don't care. Frosty, I think every one of these cases at welfare offices should be reviewed, and they find out who really is in need, who's a deadbeat leech, and throw the bums out.
There's no question. One of the things I'm excited about Donald Trump, he's a man who appoints top-quality men and women to positions that are responsible for the health and the welfare and the safety and the security of the American people. You haven't seen that. I mean, Loretta Lynch, as the Attorney General of America, hasn't done anything. Eric Holder before her did nothing for the security and the welfare of American citizens, and you see what you got. And then you talk, the President of the United States, a guy named Barack Hussein Obama, for the last 8 years has done nothing for the security and the safety of the American people. And all of this stuff has been going on. So we're going to see a president, and albeit he's going to be a colorful president, I'm ready for a colorful president that gets the laws and gets the things done that Americans need to get done to get this country moving back in the right direction. So that's our salvation at this point in time, is going to be January the 20th, 2017.
But how do we, and I asked this yesterday of John Horvat, and I'm sick of this. I mean, I've been told by certain senators and congressmen, oh, well, we can't possibly take the time and the money to go through these case-by-case studies of who should get the money and who shouldn't. Wait a minute, why not? The case-by-case study would cost far less than leaving these leeches get our checks and our money and not do anything as reciprocity to really pay us back.
Well, you're correct on that. And, it's the same reason you hear all these stupid talking heads, whether it's Charlie Rose or even Scott Pelley or certainly Lester Holt, who completely ignore what's actually going on, and yet they let all of these, like Jake Tapper, I just want to slap that guy, but you get all of these, Anderson Cooper, they ask the most stupid questions. They don't go to the core of the situation. Well, how are we going to pay for the wall? Ladies and gentlemen, your money, our money, we're paying $50 billion a year paying for Mexican drugs.
Yeah.
We're paying $120 billion a year. $120 billion a year in cash transfers going out of our country to Mexico and South America and Central America and Asia, because all these immigrants are just sending the money home. Think of $120 billion a year that's going out of this country in cash transfers. That's your money. And most of it's ill-gotten money because it never had any taxes paid on it, and it's all by illegal aliens who send their kids to our schools. We're paying for that, and the free lunches, and the free breakfasts, and all that goes with that. I mean, do you think $120 billion a year could pay for a wall to stop the $50 billion coming in drugs and all of the 500,000 illegal aliens coming across the Mexican border? I'd say you darn tootin' it would be a very, very good investment to get the wall built, because we'll save so much money in no time at all.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question. Quickly, caller. I'm shy on time. Go ahead.
Righty. I heard the other day there's more people working in the Pentagon and the backup support for the military than what we have in the military. They could cut that down and they can save a lot of money.
Absolutely. Well, caller, quickly before you hang up, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think about my idea about a tax revolt in this country and not funding sanctuary cities? Not one dadgum dime of your money or mine going to help and promote criminality and illegality in our country.
I don't know. Has that ever been done?
I don't know, but I'm going to push it. I'm going to have an accountant on the air with me next week, and I'm going to have a state senator or a national senator on the program. I demand some answers as to why we have to fund this kind of garbage.
I know. I heard of people that have went to jail because they held their tax money for the sake of they didn't support abortion, and they were sent to jail.
Yeah, but I'll tell you something that I think would be a loophole, and I think Frosty agrees with me. When you're sending money to a government that's funding illicit and illegal activities in these cities, that's an accomplice to the crime, and I think that would hit the court system, and we shouldn't have to promote crime in this country. I appreciate your call. God bless you, man.
One added thing on this, the best thing that you can do is go down to your city council and absolutely expose them, expose the mayor. You could write down what you're going to say, but do you feel that you as the mayor and each one of you city council members have the right to completely violate U.S. and federal law? Because a sanctuary city is illegal. It is against federal law. And in the end, it's against the laws of the state. It's against the Constitution of Idaho to have a sanctuary city. It's the same thing here in Colorado. It's against the law, and you point that out, and you start getting more people to come down and start pointing it out every night at every city council across this country. And certainly, I think it's 340 right now, 340 sanctuary cities, and you simply need to expose these people and every one of these mayors because they are accomplices aiding and abetting illegal aliens who are in violation of our laws.
Yeah, and to take it to the step further that we talked about earlier also, and kind of like bookends, these 10 million lazy louts that are staying at home, sitting in the lazy boy, eating bonbons, watching Oprah Winfrey, that's another problem that we've got to curb. Can you imagine 10 million getting a check when they should be out getting a job? This is insane, Frosty. Quick response, and then we'll take the call.
Exactly. And again, the 48 million who are on food stamps, or I think it's down to 46 million, but 46 million on food stamps, I'm sorry, but I'll bet you half of those people are able-bodied persons who can go to work, and I don't care if it was for minimum wage. I worked minimum wage when I was a kid. I worked right into my middle years. I even worked minimum wage as a teacher, for heaven's sakes. So if I can get a job, these people can get a job, and that's what we need to do, is to start culling and gleaning the welfare services that are going on in this country, because too many people are getting way too much money for absolutely sitting on their butts and watching Oprah Winfrey on the Now Network.
Absolutely. Caller, quickly. I've got 2 minutes left. Fast.
Dad, for the ones that are allowing this to happen and the ones that are doing it, I think we need to implement some sort of a mass sterilization program in this country, because Donna was saying we got 7 generations of this. This is just not working, and I'll leave it at that and let Frosty comment.
All right, we'll have Frosty take the ball. Go ahead, Frost.
Yeah, well, one of the things that, I don't think you can have mass sterilization, but you can make personal accountability and personal responsibility a part of welfare. And I think Trump's going to do this. We need to turn all welfare recipients into workfare for welfare. You make them get out there, and they got to paint the houses, paint the fences, clean up the trash. There are thousands of jobs out there in every city in this country that could redo the city by having welfare people get on workfare and then give them some dignity that they're actually getting up in the morning. I get up with purpose every morning. I've worked my whole life. I'm 70 years old. I'm not going to stop working because it gives me dignity, it gives me purpose, it gives me a reason to get up, and that's what all human beings want to do. They want to have a reason to get up in the morning, and work is one of the best things that can do that for you. And so welfare to workfare for me is the ticket that we need to implement in this country.
I would fall off my crutches if I turned on the news and heard Democrats like Schumer or whomever say, hey, get up off your dead butt and go to work. That isn't going to happen with the Democratic Party. They are the party that wants more gimme, wanna.
Yeah, they're socialists, and socialists are gimme, wanna, and let the rest of us pull the hay wagon while the rest of these deadbeats and all these welfare recipients get to ride for free, and of course then they get to have all their babies for free, and they get to keep adding more to their weight on the wagon, so that it's harder and harder for the rest of us who do work to work. That's why the American people voted Trump into office, because the American people got really sick of what Barack Obama did, and certainly what Hillary Clinton would have continued. And then you think about all the Syrian refugees she would have brought in here. All of them would have been on welfare, just as all of these immigrants, the illegal ones and the legal ones, are taking us for a ride when they're all riding the welfare roll.
Absolutely. Doggone it, this half hour went too fast. I always enjoy my dear friend coming on the air. And from Golden, Colorado, Frosty Woldridge, Merry Christmas, my dear friend. I'll look forward to next week.
Thank you, and so much the same. Merry Christmas.
God bless you. Thanks, Frosty. Appreciate you being on the show. One of my dear friends, always has been, Frosty Woolridge. Thank you very much. Excuse me for coughing. I got a little frog in my throat this morning. As we also want to acknowledge our dear friends with the Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street in Hayburn. Warm hearts for cold noses. Yes, they are. They've got a great animal practice over there of making sure your animals stay healthy. A mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. They love them all. Dr. Bill, Dr. Liz, the whole staff, they are such great people serving you and your livestock and your pets. Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Hayburn. Call 678-1177. Warm hearts for cold noses. I love that. Okay, let's see what else have we got here. Oh, Oh, yes, our dear, dear friend, and I mean that. I'm going to have him on the air in the next couple of days, and that's Joel Heward, the manager of Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, along with his family and his staff, and they wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. You know, I've said this so many times that when there's the passing of a loved one, everything is just thrown up in the air. You absolutely don't know what to do. Please remember the number 436-5636. They can and they will help you at Hanson Mortuary. Take care of all the arrangements with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Really, really nice people. We've got some Christmas wishes to take care of right now. And I want to say Vicky's Country Garden at 185 South, 600 West of Paul. I love the lovely Miss Vicky. She's listening. I know she is. And she says if you want to give gift certificates for Christmas stocking stuffers, call her, set up an appointment to meet her at the store at Vicky's Country Garden, and they'll take care of it. 431-5667. Vicky's Country Garden. Love having her on during gardening season. And she wishes you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Pickett Equipment Company. I've known these folks for over 40 years. Wonderful people that started in the farm shop and now they send equipment all over the world. They're located at 976 East Main in Burley, and all the folks at Pickett Equipment Company wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Along with our friends at AMI. I love this slogan. I still giggle over it. Go nuts over their bolts. Stop in and look at the big 28-foot wrench over the door at AMI, 719 Overland in Burley. And Alan and Corey, Eric and Rob and the rest of the crew wish you and yours Merry Christmas. Okay, appreciate that. In just a moment, we're going to have our guest on the line, so stay tuned. We're going to have a gentleman by the name of James Dale Davidson on the program, so stay tuned for that. Right now, I want to remind you also about our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Oh, my, all your insurance coverage. Now, listen to me. For life insurance, health insurance, and retirement planning, employee benefits, for your family and your business, what are you waiting for? Go to the phone and call them at 436-4424. Right now, they are very dedicated and responsive to your needs, and don't put it off. Call for an appointment today. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. While you're over in that area, don't forget our dear friends also at Let's Ride, where the fun is sold. Holy buckets, they've got all the new snow machines there. Woo, baby, fun in the angel dandruff. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 5. And believe me, they've got great gift-giving ideas over there in the accessory department. Oh, my goodness, all the clothing, everything, and a phenomenal service department serving you, too, at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24, between Rupert and the World. It's true. It's where the fun is sold. Right now, let's go to the phone line. And I'm going to welcome a gentleman on the program that's going to talk about our economy. It's kind of like having your cowboy boots hanging on the edge of a cliff and somebody's going to push you over into the abyss. It's kind of shaky out there. Here comes James Dale Davidson. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the program.
Well, hi, Zeb. Thank you. I'd like to say that I'm not going to push people over. I'm just telling them that they're standing on crumbling ground and they're liable to fall anyway. By doing it, we have had a debt super cycle which has gone on to an extreme for many years, and I think that it's interesting that our economic experts, in whose hands our wealth is trusted in the Federal Reserve, have not in an entire century ever correctly forecast the advent of a recession. Not once.
James, let me ask you at this juncture, let's start from square one on the Monopoly board. How did all this take place to the point where it's built like a great big sandcastle over the many, many years, and now we're standing, like I said earlier, with our boots on the edge of the cliff, and it's going to take just a little gust of wind to push us over? Why was this allowed to happen, and how come our leaders put us in such a doggone mess?
Well, I think it's a common human trait to avoid doing the tough tasks if there's more reward for doing nothing or just papering it over. So what happened, it really goes back to the early 1970s and the Arab oil boycott, when the price of energy shot way up and we had a major inflection in our economy. That's when businesses stopped investing so much in developing the material prosperity of the economy and decided to get higher returns from financialization. So financial plays started to take over, and that's when the 1% started gaining ground at the expense of the average person. Today, the average man listening to this broadcast has 4% less real income than his counterpart had in 1973, even with the government's official statistics, which we all know are fudged to an incredible degree. So the real number is much worse than that. But still looking at their numbers, real per capita GDP peaked in 1999, and we've been going downhill for this whole century.
Okay.
So far, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. The history of the world is that there are these debt super cycles, and when you have a debt super cycle, the economy slows, the velocity of money slows. It's very difficult to borrow money anymore because the money you can't afford to pay it back. And we see this now. We have in this country total debt as of the end of last year, which is the last year, of course, where we could have the total, of $63.5 trillion on an economy of about $18 trillion.
Oh, my goodness.
So we owe $3.50 for every dollar of economic activity.
Well,
some of that activity, by the way, is really not activity, it's just borrowing.
Yeah.
So say the denominator really should be lower than that.
So, James,
imagine that the average interest rate on all the debt that's outstanding were 3%.
Yeah.
We'd have to be growing at more than 10% in order just to pay the interest, to earn the money to pay the interest on the outstanding debt. And we're growing at maybe a little bit below 3% nominally.
Oh, boy.
Between 2 and 3. So we're far short of what we need to do to pay the interest on the existing debt. And then we're creating more and more debt, and this is creating a huge trap, which will deflate the economy and put everybody in a very precarious position.
All right, now let me ask you this, and it's kind of a long question, but there's a renewed optimism by many, many people across the United States right now, in the business sector, myself included, with the election of Donald Trump and the appointments to various cabinets that he is taking part in right now. With that being said, he's going to be assuming over $20 trillion in debt from the last 8 years of the Obama administration and previous administrations. Okay, bottom line question, is there any hope, and how can we start to shovel our way out of this hole?
Well, there's always hope as long as there's breath, Jeb. And I'm very hopeful. I like Donald Trump. I know him very well. We've had dinner many times, more than I could even remember. And he is a good man, and he really wants to be a good president for the whole country. And a lot of the things he's proposing make great sense. Let me give you just one example. He has pointed out that we have trillions and trillions of dollars that are locked offshore by our tax system because we have the most predatory corporate tax rates in the world. So companies that make money abroad don't want to bring it back and pay these huge taxes. But Donald Trump has proposed a very low rate of tax to encourage them to bring the money back, which I think makes sense on lots of levels.
On the other hand, one of the things that's going to happen from that is the same thing that happened when Ronald Reagan came to office. The dollar shot way up because it became much better to do business in the United States than it had been in the past. And this is going to tighten the cinch on the neck of the world economy, because the euro-dollar market, which is the phrase to describe where all these dollars are living now, when they're living away from the United States, the expatriated dollars are known as the euro dollars. They're not. It has nothing to do with the euro currency that we hear about a lot in Europe. And this is the main source of funding for the world economy, believe it or not. And if Donald Trump draws trillions of dollars out of that already shrinking market, it's going to create a crisis for the world banking system, a crisis for the companies and countries that depend on euro dollars for funding. And this is going to help collapse the world economy, and Donald Trump will get the blame, even though it's certainly not his fault.
So I
appreciate the improvement in regulatory regimes, which is certainly going to be a major factor, making life better for Americans and American business people.
So, James, I want to understand this. You're the economist, and you're very well versed in this, and I'm just basically a neophyte that reads and studies about our economy. But you're telling me that because the global economy, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but the global economy is in such sad state of affairs with what happened over in Greece and also the euro and everything else, that Donald Trump, by taking over office and trying to clean up the boat, if you will, he's going to take the blame for the entire global economy if it sinks. Is that basically what you're saying?
Well, I think that's basically been the history of the world. If you think back to 1929, I know you weren't there observing it, neither was I, but in 1929, Herbert Hoover was inaugurated president on the 4th of March, 1929, and by the end of October, the world was in the deepest depression in history. Now, do you honestly think that he created the Great Depression in those few months?
No.
I can't. He'd been working overtime all night long. He couldn't have done it if he tried. It was just something that he took the blame for. He was the fall guy for the Depression, and I think that Trump will be the fall guy for the current unwinding. But we tend to think in economics in a flat state way about what's going to happen, that we have the same potential to do something today as we had yesterday and the day before or tomorrow. But economists don't pay attention to the underlying realities too much that actually determine what can happen. I'll give you this example. Just think of the demographic cycle. There's certainly a demographic cycle because people have a lifespan. They're born, they go to school, they graduate, they enter the workforce. Eventually they grow up, they get old, and they retire, and they die.
Yes.
That's the cycle. We're in a very negative part of the demographic cycle now because we have so many older people and not as many young people. And even the young people we do have in the demographic cycle can't afford to do anything because they're burdened with debt. You know, there's so much college debt and student debt on these people that 70% of the young people in the United States under the age of 34 are living on their parents' sofa. Now, these are the people who are normally the drivers of economic growth. Donald Trump has been an exemplary father. He has 5 children. He's done more than his share. But it's beyond ridiculous to expect him to change the demographic cycle. I mean, he can't do that. Nobody can. And the same thing is true with this debt super cycle that we have hanging over us. We have more debt in the United States than any country ever has in the history of the world as a percentage of the global economy.
That's right.
So we have to pay this debt or get rid of it or find some way to resolve the problem because it slows everything down. It's like running a race in the Olympics with bricks tied to your back.
Absolutely.
And we have this huge pile of debt. It's there. We've got to do something to get around it or get out of it, but it's not going to just go away by smiling at it.
James, let me ask you this, James.
We have a problem.
No, let me Let me interrupt you and try to have a question right there on something you just said a moment ago. In your book, The Great Reckoning, maybe you've addressed this. I have not read your book. I can't wait to get it. But if this country, the United States, suffers another major depression like what hit this country back in the 30s, due to the fact of the global economy and all the globalness, if you will, that we're involved in, and also the terrorist activities, Islamic Jihad, all of those that would like to see the total demise of the United States, how in the world can that red, white, and blue in our Constitution survive if we go into a major depression again?
Well, I think it's going to stress every institution in society. That's certainly the lesson of history. You can't look at the way history has evolved in other times when people were in great stress without recognizing that. And I think we probably we gambled a great deal on stability, which may not even exist any longer. The government is far too big, and it's very expensive and inefficient, and it puts us in a very difficult position in terms of competition in this country. We've heard in the election that the military was getting weak, yet the United States spends more money on military than all other countries combined. You have to wonder, how could we be weak under those terms? And part of the answer is we spent something like a dozen times the entire Russian military budget building the new F-35 fighter. As Peter Thiel said in the Republican convention speech supporting Donald Trump, this fighter, which is going to cost $1.5 trillion, cannot even fly in the rain.
Oh, my.
It's utterly ridiculous.
Oh, my.
And we have the same. We spent trillions and trillions in Mideast wars. What have we accomplished? I don't know what have we done any good at all. We created ISIS. We destroyed a bunch of countries that were previously functioning, and now we have a big mess on our hands.
Right.
We spend more than every other country on health care, and yet our life expectancy is falling, and the third largest cause of death in the United States are medical mistakes.
Let me
look at our education system.
Right.
We talk about all the things we import from China. We probably should be importing elementary schools from China. If they run elementary schools, they pay $1,100 per student on average, and they get the highest test scores in the world.
Right.
We have school districts in this country that spend 20 times that and have horrible test results.
Absolutely.
So we're paying for a bunch of rackets that don't give us any benefit, and eventually those things cannot stand the test of time. So the politicians and the crony capitalists who have been picking the pockets of the people listening to this broadcast have a lot to answer for, I would say.
Absolutely. James, I want to end this segment by asking you, you mentioned that you have known Donald Trump for quite some period of time. You've had dinner with the man, and you've had a chance to really ask questions and get answers. Tell my audience a little bit about the man that now is the president-elect that they might not know because of the sound bites on television or the rallies on TV. What do you know about Trump that you'd like to share with my audience this morning?
Well, I think that Donald is a good man. I like Donald Trump. And part of it is because maybe he likes me. I've had very good relations with him. I have a young son the same age as his youngest son, and a few years ago we had the good fortune of being invited by Donald to sit at the head table with him in his Super Bowl party. We had a wonderful conversation. My son had a blast. I mean, it was great fun. Donald is a guy that you would love to spend time with. He's the liveliest teetotaler you'd ever meet. And I'll give you a little story. In 2012, Donald Trump called me and said, Mitt Romney is driving me crazy. He's asking me to endorse him. Should I do it? I said, Donald, you should get Mitt Romney to endorse you. And here's why. Let's say it's a Monday night in October, and Monday Night Football is playing on the television. You could go into any bar in the United States as a teetotaler and you could sit down and talk to the guys watching the football game. They'd be delighted to talk to you. Mitt Romney, as a teetotaler, could go into any bar in the United States where guys are watching Monday Night Football, and they'd say, "Shut up, we're watching the football game." And that's part of the difference. That Donald is engaging. He's a natural. He's not a nasty person, as the media try to portray him. He's engaging, warm. And I'll tell you something else. If you had a problem, if you had the misfortune to have a child with some sort of exotic illness, or, God forbid, your mother were hit by a bus or something and you needed an expensive operation that you couldn't afford, you would want to go to Donald Trump because he's the guy who would actually help you.
James, let me ask you one final thought. Short question, short answer. Donald Trump, the man, and his now future presidency just less than 36 days away, but yet the liberal left will not concede the fact that he is the new president-elect, and they're doing everything they can, from arm twisting and death threats to the Electoral College. What are your thoughts on this as we wrap up this segment?
Well, I think it's very funny because if you remember, the left got its undies all in a knot when Donald said, I won't tell you what I would do about the results of the election until I know what they are. And now they are the biggest examples of sore losers in the whole history of the world. They've got the CIA operatives who were on their side coming out with this lie that the Russians hacked the Democratic National Committee and the Clinton campaign. In fact, it wasn't a hack. And the people who were close to Julian Assange, and Julian Assange himself has said that it was a leak. You remember the fact that the NSA is recording every bit of digital information, including this discussion and everything else that goes on in the United States.
Yep.
So some of these people in the intelligence services who are part of this, that are basically overseeing everybody's conversations, leaked this information to Assange because they were appalled at what they saw about the inside of the Democratic Party and the Clinton campaign. And that information has come out, and you notice that they haven't said one word to dispute the authenticity of any of these things that have been leaked. But they're leaks. They're not hacks.
That's right.
They came from the intelligence service in the United States, probably somebody in the NSA, and the CIA is part of this campaign to discredit Trump. He should go in there and wash it out with a hose when he gets into office.
You know, I've got to invite you back, and I certainly hope you'll consent to coming back in the future. James Dale Davidson, economist and author of the best-selling book, The Great Reckoning. And I simply say to you, sir, please come back, and Merry Christmas to you.
Well, thank you very much, Jim.
All right, God bless. Merry Christmas, and I'll call you soon. Thank you so much. A great man that understands and knows Donald Trump personally, and economist that understands the problem that we're in and the pitfalls we're in financially. I'll have him back with his best-selling book, The Great Reckoning. I'm going to look for that book and try to get a copy before I have him come back on the program. Thank you very much. Oh, my goodness, I'm late. Old Santa's elf over at the station Wheels is going, Zeb, we got to get a weather forecast on here. Weather brought to you this hour by Pope Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin and Company CPAs. Curtis Pope, Todd Phillips, Rob Oaks, Mitch Goodwin, Lyden Crane, good old boy. Tax return preparation, tax planning, retirement planning, bookkeeping services. 2 locations to serve you, and they do serve you. 1710 Overland in Burley and 620 5th Street in Rupert. These are the professionals serving you with accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we do get one day closer to Christmas. Today's going to be nice, but for the rest of the week, not so much. Partly cloudy skies for today, slightly breezy, expecting a high of 34 tonight, low of 20 tomorrow. Snow showers in the forecast all day long, high of 32, overnight low of 32, so we're not going to see that temperature moving much. For Thursday, winds are going to be picking up, and it's going to be warming up. Rain and snow showers mixed, high of 41 with an overnight low of 31. Snowy and windy for Friday with a high of 32. Then maybe partly cloudy skies for Saturday. Going to be cold. High of 11 with an overnight low of -1. Yesterday's high was 37. The overnight low was 26. That is your weather for 7th Rand.
Gina, great job. Brought to you this hour by the professionals, and they are the best CPAs to work with. You better believe it. Pope, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, and Company, with locations in Burley and Rupert, serving you. Thank you very much. Oh, my goodness, we got to remind you, excuse me, I got a little frog in that throat, and he won't jump out and go to the swamp. We're going to be over at Denny's Restaurant on Thursday, America's Diner, for an old-fashioned Christmas party, and we're going to be broadcasting live and direct there from 8:06 in the morning to 11, and we are blessed to have the carolers from Oakley High School. They can sing, and we're going to have prizes and great food, and by the way, we're going to have a contest for the ugliest Christmas sweater. I think I'm going to be in the running, even though I can't be in the contest. Holy smokes, I'll tell you what. Ugly sweater, men's and ladies' division, so wear in those ugly Christmas sweaters. It's going to be all morning, 8:06 to 11 at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. Christmas the way it should be. An old-fashioned Christmas at Denny's Restaurant. This Thursday, day after tomorrow. Don't you miss it. You be there. By the way, too, I want to remind you about our dear friend Tim Vaughn. Oh, yeah, Tim Vaughn and Streamline Precision. As Dr. History walks through the door and the dog goes wild, I'll tell you what, you give Tim a call right now and tell him you need to get a bid right this very minute on maybe a new steel building on your property with Nucor, Prime, and Sukup steel buildings, or maybe Dairyman, you need some new feed lanes and mangers replaced. Well, whatever, you give them a call because they want to go to work for you now. Now is the time they'd really like to get to work and get things done, so you've got everything rolling for the springtime. Streamline Precision with our buddy Tim Vaughn, 431-7314. You give him a call today. Well, down the aisle he goes. There he is, the old one, carrying a kind of a old-fashioned quill pen in his right hand and a stone tablet in his left. Dr. History has arrived, and he will be on the air this next hour. Going to look forward to that. By the way, I heard some news that Zach over to Minnecasia Sales was injured, and I understand he had something fall on him, and I hope he's doing all right. We had invited him over to the program this morning, but he's kind of recuperating and gimping around with the leg brace and everything. So, Zach, if you're listening out there this morning, the very best to you, and I hope you heal up and you're doing 120 miles an hour in no time at all. So our very best to him. Let's see, what else have I got? I told you all about Denny's and the big Christmas party coming up on this Thursday. And we want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. And be careful out there. The weather is going to change, and we're going to have that polar vortex hit here towards the weekend. You heard Gina talking about that a little bit during the weather forecast. We are going to see temperatures just right down through the bottom. Take care of your livestock. Make sure your dogs outside have got shelter and maybe buckets that plug in, electric heaters for those. Make sure they've got plenty of water. It is supposed to get really, really cold, so be careful. Right now, we're going to send it over to Santa's number one elf, and that's Wheels at our main studio, and he's going to go to CBS News. But a little Christmas music first and foremost. God bless. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Oh, my. The old man has walked into the studio slowly, one step at a time. Father Time, or better known as Dr. History, will be here in just a moment. Right now, I want to remind you, Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, and, of course, some of our great advertisers, like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal, 734-6969. Hey, you got a dog? Well, I know what you better do. Take your doggy to a Christmas party. What? Yes, it's true. It is another great big Christmas party over at Four Paws Bed and Bath for your dogs. That's right. Take them over there. Santa's going to be there. You can put your doggy up on Santa's lap and have your picture taken with him. Oh, my goodness, it's going to be a lot of fun. And they're going to have refreshments and all kinds of giveaways. Don't miss this great big party at Four Paws Bed and Bath. Wonderful people. And don't forget to call and get your reservations in for grooming and boarding. Oh, boy, they're the best. I know. We take Ruby over there. Four Paws Bed and Bath, 370 West, 200 South of Rupert. And by the by, don't forget again, Tim Vaughn, my buddy. He's listening right now, smiling like a Cheshire cat. Tim Vaughn, number to call, 431-7314 with Streamline Precision. You need a new building. You need a new feed lane or mangers on your dairy or remodeling. They can do it. They will do it, and the job will be done absolutely right. Call Streamline Precision today, so it's all ready to go in the spring. Streamline Precision with Tim Vaughn, 431-7314. And we got some Santa Claus wishes real quick. I know Dr. History's chomping on the bit, but I've got to get these in. Don't forget Pro Paint at 1116 Overland Avenue in Burley with Barbara and the whole crew. They say Merry Christmas with the best stains, the best paint, featuring the PPG paint. Oh, my goodness, you stop in and see them today. Pro Paint in Burley, Merry Christmas. And in Twin Falls, don't forget Snake River Auto Body and Paint. What nice people. Kenny Rogers and Dan and the whole crew. Wow. Drive safe, but if you get a crinkle and a wrinkle in your vehicle, that's the place to go. Snake River Auto Body and Paint. 404 4th Avenue West in Twin Falls, 734-5790. Wishing you a very Merry Christmas. Whew. And now, without further ado, let's go across the desk and through the woods and across the creek, because here is Dr. History, brought to you by Minicash Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport, 878-2091. Good morning, Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing today?
I'm running like a thoroughbred in the Kentucky Derby.
It sounds like it.
Man.
What a nice day. It's cold out there, but the sun's shining.
You know, and it's really going to have that polar vortex hit this weekend. They're saying below zero temperature.
Yeah, and snow and rain.
Yeah.
Probably more snow. So.
Yeah, just great for us old men.
I know.
Yeah. Hey, you got something you want to plug?
I do.
Okay.
You know, for a number of years, I've had this travel CD tour of Cassia County, which begins in Burley, goes up through Albin, Elba, Almo, the City of Rocks, over to Oakley and back to Burley, and you turn it off and on as you go. There's 2 CDs with a map, and you know, along the way I talk about the Oregon Trail, the California Trail, Diamondfield Jack, the cattle and sheep wars, mining, Connor Creek Massacre, the Pony Express, stage holdups, things like that. And if people would like to get this, I only need to sell about 500 more to break even. So,
well, you know, there's kind of the beggar's attitude. Please, buy my tape.
Please, you know. But you can get those at my old office where my nephew is practicing, Travis Turner in Burley.
I see.
Or call me, 431-3355, or just go to my webpage, Dr. History, and just send me a message with your phone number, and I'll call you. I think they still have some over at the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
But this is, it's kind of a neat gift.
Let me see it, by the way.
And, well, okay, here,
you know, handoff, fumble.
And if you have family you really don't like that come to visit, you can give them this, and they'll be gone all day. And with a little luck, they might get lost and end up in Nevada.
I love that. No, this is really something from Dr. History. And let me plug it a little bit. It is called Trails of Adventure.
Yes.
I love that. Dr. History. And the only thing that's not on there, because he didn't want to scare the smaller children, is his picture.
Oh, it's on the inside.
So, once again, how much does this sell for?
$20.
$20.
Yeah.
Well worth that.
Yeah, it's a fun day's activity.
Oh, I better not keep that. You'll take it away.
I know, I gave you one already.
I
somewhere.
It's up there. I know it is.
Okay.
And it's excellent. By the way, very well done. Now that we've paid the bills and made you happy and earned you money to buy your wife a Christmas present, what are we going to talk about today?
You wanted Christmas stories.
Yes, I did.
Through the month of December, and I love to read them and hear them. And so this is going to be a World War I and World War II story.
Is this one that we had on about 2 years ago?
It is. So
I think I'm going to remember what you said.
You will. So starting in World War I, around Christmas 1914, in the week leading up to the holiday, German and British soldiers actually crossed trenches to exchange seasonal greetings and to talk.
During the war?
Yes.
Yes.
And in areas, men from both sides ventured into what we call no man's land on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day to actually mingle, exchange food, souvenirs. They actually had joint burial ceremonies, and they actually swapped prisoners during that time.
You know, isn't it a shame that the soldiers, couldn't have just told the higher-ups enough?
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
You know, but there was carol singing. They actually got together and played, we call it football, but it would be soccer. And,
oh, my goodness.
Now, the following year, there was a few more ceasefires and truces, but the higher-ups got word of this, and they pretty much put an end to that after World War I. But the Germans placed candles on their trenches and on Christmas trees, and they continued the celebration by singing Christmas carols. The British responded by singing carols of their own. It was really a pretty neat thing. They actually exchanged tobacco and alcohol and souvenirs and buttons and hats.
May I say something here quickly? That story that you're talking about just proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Christmas is a great unifier.
Yes. No, around the world.
Absolutely.
Pretty much. Now, as I mentioned, by the time World War II came around, there was no truce similar to the one that occurred in 1914 in World War I. But there's something else, a story we're going to get to. But generals on both sides determined to prevent the fraternization in the future, and they saw to it that these activities would be severely punished, and so there would be no more Christmas truces the rest of World War I or World War II. But in December 1944, during the Battle of the Bulge, while the Americans fought for their lives against a huge German onslaught, there was a tiny shred of human decency that happened on Christmas Eve. And this is the story that you're going to remember, I think, Zeb.
Go ahead.
Do we need to stop right now?
I was going to say, why don't I do a commercial real quick, okay?
Let's do that.
I want to remind everybody, Zach, I wished you were here this morning. Zach had a little injury and couldn't make it. We certainly hope he's healing up and doing well. He's got a wonderful family, great business at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. All the upgrade of your windows with the Western windows. Keep that chilly air outside. And all the carpeting and, of course, all your lumber packages, your shingles. Oh, my goodness, and they can help line up a contractor to do the installation. All of this and more at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport, 878-2091, and they wish you a very Merry Christmas.
So here we are, 1944, December, the Battle of the Bulge. 3 American soldiers, one was badly wounded. They were lost in the snow-covered Ardennes forest. Now, as they tried to find the American lines, they'd been walking for 3 days while the sounds of battle echoed in the hills and valleys all around them. Then, on Christmas Eve, they came upon a small cabin in the woods. Elizabeth Vinken and her 12-year-old son Fritz had been hoping her husband would arrive to spend Christmas with them, but it was now too late in the evening. They knew that he probably wouldn't be coming. But the Vinkens had actually been bombed out of their home in their hometown in Germany, but they'd managed to move into a hunting cabin in what's called the Hurtgen Forest. And I'm sure maybe there's some listeners that will recognize that. It's about 4 miles from a town called Monskow, near the Belgian border. Now, Fritz's father stayed behind to work and visited them when he could. So their Christmas meal would now have to wait for his arrival. So Elizabeth and Fritz were alone in this little cabin tucked away in the woods. Well, there was a knock on the door. Elizabeth blew out the candles and opened the door to find 2 enemy American soldiers standing at the door and a third one lying in the snow. Now, despite their rough appearance, they seemed hardly older than boys. They were armed and could have simply burst in, but they hadn't. So she invited them inside, and they carried their wounded comrade into the warm cabin. Elizabeth didn't speak English, and they didn't speak German. But they managed to communicate in broken French. Hearing their story and seeing their condition, Elizabeth, especially the wounded soldier, Elizabeth started preparing a meal. She sent Fritz to get 6 potatoes and Herman the rooster.
Herman the Rooster. We did that very well.
We did.
And it was unrehearsed.
It was. His stay of execution had been delayed by her husband's absence, but the stay was rescinded. Herman's namesake was actually Hermann Göring, the Nazi leader who Elizabeth didn't care much for. So
they didn't bring that
off
up,
came his head.
Okay. Down with Herman.
Yes. So while Herman roasted, there was another knock on the door, and Fritz went to open it, thinking there might be more lost Americans. But instead, there were 4 armed German soldiers.
Uh-oh.
Knowing the penalty for harboring the enemy was execution, Elizabeth, white as a ghost, pushed past Fritz and stepped outside. There was a corporal and 3 very young soldiers who wished her a Merry Christmas, but they were lost, and they were hungry. Now, Elizabeth told them they were welcome to come into the warmth and eat until the food was all gone, but there were others inside who they would not consider friends. The corporal asked sharply if they were Americans inside, and she said there were 3 who were lost and cold like they were, and 1 was wounded. Well, the corporal stared hard at her until she said, "It is the holy night, and there will be no shooting here." She insisted they leave their weapons outside. Well, dazed by the events, they slowly complied, and Elizabeth went inside, demanding the same of the Americans. She took their weapons and stacked them outside next to the Germans. Understandably, there was a lot of fear and tension in the cabin as the Germans and Americans eyed each other, pretty suspiciously.
Well, sure.
I mean, you have been fighting against each other, and here you are standing there with no weapons, but the warmth and the smell of the roast Herman and potatoes began to take the edge off, and the Germans produced a bottle of wine and a loaf of bread. And while Elizabeth tended to the cooking, one of the German soldiers, an ex-medical student, examined the wounded American.
Oh, my.
In English, he explained that the cold had prevented infection, but he'd lost a lot of blood. He needed food and rest. Well, by the time the meal was ready, the atmosphere was more relaxed. 2 of the Germans were only 16. The corporal was 23. And as Elizabeth said grace, Fritz noticed tears in the eyes of the exhausted soldiers, both German and American. Well, the truce lasted through the night and into the morning. Looking at the Americans' map, the corporal told them the best way to get back to their lines and provided them with a compass. When asked whether they should go instead to this little town called Monschau, the corporal shook his head and said it was now in German hands. Elizabeth returned all the weapons, and the enemy shook hands and left in opposite directions. Soon they were out of sight, and the truce was over.
Wow.
But that's not the end of the story.
Oh.
Fritz and his parents survived the war. His mother and father passed away in the 60s, and by then he had gotten married, Fritz had, and moved to Hawaii, where he opened a place called Fritz's European Bakery in Honolulu. Now, for years, he tried to locate any of the German or American soldiers without luck.
How would he do that?
Well, I don't know. It would have been a very, very difficult task to try to find those German specific and American soldiers. Yeah. So, anyway, hoping to corroborate his story and see how they fared, he kept looking. Well, President Reagan heard of his story and referenced it in a 1985 speech he gave in Germany as an example of peace and reconciliation.
Oh, my.
But it wasn't until the television program Unsolved Mysteries, you've heard of that?
I have.
Broadcast the story in 1995.
Oh, my.
That it was discovered that a man living in Frederick, Maryland, nursing home, had been telling the same story for years.
Oh, my goodness.
So Fritz flew to Frederick in January.
Say that fast 5 times.
Yeah, he flew in 1996, and he met with a guy by the name of Ralph Blank, one of the American soldiers, and he still had the German compass and map.
Oh, my goodness.
Ralph told Fritz, he said, "Your mother saved my life." Fritz said the reunion was the high point of his life.
That was the wounded American.
That was the wounded American.
Oh.
Fritz also managed to later contact one of the other Americans, but none of the Germans. He was never able to find out who they were. And sadly, Fritz died in December of 2002, almost 58 years to the day of the Christmas truce, that he was forever grateful that his mother finally got the recognition she deserved.
Oh, my goodness.
And what a kind Christian act, not only of Fritz and his mother, but the soldiers themselves. They didn't want to be there.
Yeah, really.
They wanted to be home with their families.
Wow.
And so, when I think of Christmas and maybe loneliness, I've got to think that the military has to be one of the hardest times for our servicemen. And you and I have spoken a lot of times about patriotism.
Yeah.
And the sacrifice and the suffering of our military people. There can't be enough said.
Well, all of our service people, whether it's firefighters, whether it's policemen, whether it's the military, they run to the problem while the rest of us run away.
Yeah, I have the greatest respect for those people, the firemen, the police officers.
Well, of course,
the servicemen.
I'm prejudiced, Doc, because
That's right.
my son is a firefighter.
Yes.
And some of the harrowing experiences that he's already told us about as a parent, you never stop being a parent.
Right.
And when you hear about some of the real concerns and worries and stories that kind of raise the hair on your back of your neck, you never stop worrying and wondering what's happening.
Well, people complain about our country, and yet it's the greatest place on earth.
Yeah, the Colin Kaepernicks and the negativity that they put forth and everything. Go to another country and try to put forth your shameful ideas and goals in front of them and see what happens.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that have traveled outside the United States, and there's a lot of great countries out there, but I wouldn't trade, personally.
What I find amazing, though, is that story. It's a true story.
It is a true story.
And it's really unfortunate. I love the way the story was as far as finding some of the soldiers, but it would have been so absolutely gratifying, I think, in its entirety, had he been able to contact some of the German soldiers.
Yeah.
That would have been something.
There's another story, real quick, I'll tell you. That
real fast. I got 2 minutes.
Okay, it wasn't necessarily Christmas, but there was a German fighter pilot, and he was not a Nazi. He fought because it was his country.
Yeah.
There was a bomber that had been shot up pretty badly, and he could have finished the bomber off if he had wanted to. And they were headed towards England, the bomber, with 7 or 8 crew members. And he decided he was not going to finish them off. He pulled up beside the bomber, and he tried to signal for them to turn and land in, I think it was the Netherlands, or someplace where it was neutral. But the men in the bomber didn't quite understand what he was saying, so finally he left them and landed, and the plane actually made it back to England and survived. Many, many years later, this German fighter pilot found out about a reunion of these men that were in that bomber.
Oh, my.
I believe it was in Seattle. He was invited over and met the families, the wives, the children of those men that were in that bomber.
And he was the fighter pilot.
And he was the fighter pilot.
The German fighter pilot.
That could have ended their lives so easily.
Wow.
Again, another story of love and concern and the Christian attitude.
Peace on earth, goodwill towards men.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway.
There's so many things, and you've kind of opened the door for me to say this. On December 22nd, Thursday, December 22nd, coming up in a very short matter of days, we're going to have our open house Christmas party here. And you, of course, are going to be invited to come over, and we're going to talk about Christmas with a lot of people on the air here. There are the naysayers. There are those that hate and despise Christmas and the nativity scene and all the goodwill and peace towards men, etc. How can they? I mean, this is a time of the year when I don't care what religion you are, I don't care what politics you have, what partisanship you have, we can all come together and say, Merry Christmas.
It's a great time of the year. I love it. I love the Christmas music, the good Christmas music, and it is a great time of the year. It really is.
That story was outstanding, and thank you, Doc. I appreciate that. And needless to say, you're going to be on Tuesday of next week,
right? And I've got a few more Christmas stories we're going to talk about next week.
Okay, and then Thursday, the 22nd, you're also going to be here.
We'll be out here
and
eat food and sing and whatever.
I'll tell you what, not necessarily in that order.
You don't want me to sing?
No. Well, I was hoping you'd renege. Anyway, I certainly appreciate your story this morning.
Thank you, Zeb.
Thank you. Dr. History, and I'm going to wrap some things up here, and then I'm going to talk to him during the break. Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, with Zach and the crew sponsoring Dr. History. And, Doc, one more time, tell everybody about those CDs. How can they get a hold of it?
You can call me at 431-3355.
Okay.
You can call my home phone. I'm in the phone book. Or where my practice was, my chiropractic office in Burley. You can go there and pick one up.
Okay.
And maybe even the Chamber of Commerce. I think they still have some.
Okay. Dr. History and Minnecasia Sales with Zach and the whole crew. All your lumber, all your windows, everything. Great carpet. Right there at Minnecasia Sales. Zach, get better, man. Come on over anytime you want to. 1321 East Main Street in Burley. We also want to acknowledge, too, that on Thursdays we have another segment that we're very, very proud of, and that's the Minnecasia Schools and, of course, Cassia County School Days. And thanks to Debbie Critchfield for lining up all our guests, and thanks to our two sponsors, A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. Great Christmas shopping ideas, family toys, games, books, puzzles, all the clothing. Come on, stop in and really enjoy shopping locally at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And also co-sponsoring Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley for your outpatient surgeries, and they can save you a lot of money. Call them at 677-8888. That number again, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World. And they are bringing you Cassia County School Days every Thursday at 10:10 right here on Zeb at the Ranch. We are about a minute early from normally going over to our main studios, but we're going to do so and then come back, and we've got Dr. John Zamirik coming on our program next half hour, and we're going to be talking about the real worry and scare to this United States, and it's not what you think it might be. I talked about it earlier this morning. Don't miss it. We'll take this break and send it back over to the main studios. I'll see you in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KVAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Oh, my goodness, here we go. Hour number 3 as we're about ready to wrap it up for another 30 minutes. And we've got a great guest coming on the air. A guy I really enjoy having on the show in just a minute, Dr. John Zamirik. Christmas wishes this morning from Pump Service, the Baker Boys. How you doing, boys? 103 West 500 South of Burley. And they want to thank everybody for the business they've had in the last year, from the residential and commercial wells and pump service, water softener sales. Don't forget Pump Service. The Baker Boys at 678-9042. Wishing you a very Merry Christmas. And Larry Chris Auto Body. These people are really good. 244 Overland in Burley. And if you need collision repair, you locked out of your car, huh, Bunky? Well, they can help. And all you have to do is give them a call at 878-0023. And remember, if you want to give a great Christmas gift, give a stocking stuffer certificate to Larry Chris Auto Body to have your car detailed. Oh, they do a great job. Wishing you a very Merry Christmas. And K&R Rental, 256 South 600 West of Burley. They've got it all, from garden equipment all the way to backhoes. They can lease you all the equipment you need for any kind of a job. Forklifts, tractors, you name it, it's all there at K&R Rental, 256 South 600 West of Burley, 678-3122. Wishing you a very Merry Christmas. And don't forget, on Thursday, we're going to be over at Denny's, America's Diner, for our great big old-fashioned Christmas party. We'll be broadcasting there from 8:06 to 11, live and direct for 3 hours. Don't forget the ugly Christmas sweater contest. I've got one that absolutely should be the ugliest. Anyway, everybody stop by. We're going to have a men's and a ladies division, great prizes, all of this and more at Denny's Restaurant on Thursday, America's Diner. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and as I have many, many times in the past, introduce this man on my program. Good morning, Dr. John Zmirak. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Zach?
Well, I am really excited, to be honest with you, John. I'm seeing a lot of good people being put on the cabinet with Donald Trump as the president-elect, and I'm pretty doggone optimistic. Are you going to break my bubble, or are you going to agree with me?
No, I'm going to agree with you. I got to say, Donald Trump seems to be listening to the adults in the room and trying to be a good president. And I'm delighted, and I am very happy to be proved wrong. I was not a fan of Trump during the primaries. I did get behind him after the convention because we needed to keep the Borg Queen out of the White House. But Donald Trump is very pleasantly, somewhat surprising me. But you know what? He ran his businesses pretty well. This is not a man who bankrupted himself. This is a man who became a billionaire from not nothing, but he started off small. So I guess he is listening to the right people, while I think remaining true to the people who put him in office. And I think it's really important that he come through. He already came through on his promise to the workers at Carrier Air Conditioning, and he's indulging in some protectionism, which might not in the long run work out, but at least he's keeping his promise. Now, I want to see him keep his promise on the Supreme Court, on abortion, on religious liberty. He needs to sign the First Amendment Defense Act, which he promised to sign, which will protect Christians who don't believe in same-sex marriage from government prosecution. But, you know, I think Donald Trump is proving to be a much better president than actually most of the other people who ran in the Republican race would have been. I think we would be rolling our eyes. If Jeb Bush had gotten elected, and by the way, he wouldn't have beaten Hillary, but if by some miracle he'd gotten elected, I think we'd be rolling our eyes at the people he's appointing to the cabinet. I think the same is probably true of Marco Rubio. So, you know, I got to say I'm overall pretty happy.
John, I got to ask you this, and you're very forthright and honest, and I respect you for what you just said. But I don't want to get too far away from our topic this morning on a great piece that you wrote for the stream called Trump, Putin, and the Great Christian Pinata. But I want to ask you this. The left will not let this election go. They are coming up and conjuring up all they can to keep flies in the milk. What are your thoughts about this? It's even now threats to the Electoral College. What do you think?
This is another example of the left trying to overturn the results of an election it doesn't like. They're doing it in England with Brexit. They're trying to get the House of Lords to annul the voters' wishes and keep England from leaving the European Union. In the Netherlands, the leading candidate for prime minister is in prison just for criticizing Islamic immigration into the country. He's in prison. The elites are desperate to stop the people's voice from being heard. And in this case, look what this is all about. First, they said the Russians hacked our voting machines. Then when Jill Stein did us the favor of proving that none of that was true, now they're saying, well, yeah, but the Russians influenced American voters by releasing truthful information about how corrupt Hillary Clinton was, how she was in bed with the Saudi dictatorship, how she was taking money from Qatar, the same people who funded ISIS, and how her campaign manager, John Podesta, wants to destroy the Catholic Church from within by infiltrating it with pro-choice groups that are sock puppets for the Democrats. All of that is true. No one's denying it's all true. But we weren't supposed to know about it. That was supposed to be secret. And because somebody spilled the beans, now we have to have a do-over of the election because the American voters weren't supposed to know how corrupt we are. That's not fair. It must be the Russians.
You know, I've got to tell you, John, for a long time on this program, and if anybody wants to review the tapes of the show, they'll know this statement is true. I have said for years that it's not Russia. It's not another country that I fear right now as far as a deep threat to this American integrity, its Constitution. I have said for a long time it's the Islamic Jihad. It's the Muslim encroachment around the world that I fear, and I have a feeling you agree with me.
Oh, yeah, that's what my latest thesis, Stream.org, is about. How the real threat to us is the hundreds of thousands of Muslims that are entering Europe, that are being brought into America, a certain percentage of whom, maybe it's 1%, maybe it's 1/10 of 1%, are going to be vulnerable to ISIS propaganda and commit acts of terrorism. That is not true with Hindus. It's not true with Buddhists. It's not true with Christians. It's not true with Jews. It's only true of Muslims. Why is that? Because Islam is intrinsically, to its core, to its bone, political. One of the missions of Islam is to conquer the entire world by force if necessary and subjugate all non-Muslims. Those who are not monotheists, in other words, Hindus and Buddhists, will just be killed. Jews and Christians, in theory, will be allowed to live under a kind of Jim Crow regime where they pay special taxes and are publicly humiliated and kept out of power and kept out of office, but reluctantly, grudgingly tolerated to live, the way they're reluctantly tolerated in Egypt, in Turkey. They're not even tolerated in Saudi Arabia. There's not one Christian church in the country. Foreign diplomats can't even have religious services inside their embassies, which are technically foreign soil. You can go to prison in Saudi Arabia for owning a Bible. Yet we're supposed to be allied with these people, and the Russians are our enemies? The Russians, compared to the Saudi Arabians, compared to Turkey, Russia would be our friend. And the people who are trying to whip up a new Cold War between us and Russia are just trying to distract us from the real threat, which is global Islam, which is invading Europe, committing acts of terrorism in America, slaughtering Christians in 7 or 8 different countries at any given moment. They just blew up a church in Egypt. These are the real threat, and it's a kind of magician's sleight of hand to get us to look at the Russians. Because, 30 years ago, they were run by the communists, and then they really were our enemy. They don't have to be our enemy now. And if we make them our enemy, we're fools.
You know, John, I have said for a long time also on this program, I've been anti-refugee from that area of the world coming to the United States. I have said that they are refugee infiltrators, not immigrants. How would you respond to that statement?
I would say they are immigrants, not refugees. Some of them are infiltrators. Look, according to international law, a refugee is someone who's running away for his life. He's supposed to go to the first safe country. That's a term of art of international law, first safe country. Well, guess what? The moment a Syrian arrives in Turkey, he's in a safe country. There is no excuse for him to go to Sweden or Denmark or Germany and go on welfare for the rest of his life and join a radical mosque. He should stay in Turkey. Turkey is using these refugees as a political weapon. They've already dumped 1 million on Europe. And now the president of Turkey, Erdogan, has threatened Europe that unless they meet his demands, that is, giving free travel visas to every single person in Turkey to go anywhere they want in the whole continent of Europe, he is going to release another 2 or 3 million Syrians on buses and trains across the border of Greece and Bulgaria. That's not a refugee. Those aren't refugees. They're colonists. What's happening to Europe is what happened to the North American Indians. And the question is, will the Europeans fight, and will they win? There's going to be a civil war in Europe between the Muslims and the rest of Europe. The question is when it happens and who wins.
You say that
this is not going to end peacefully.
You say that.
I'm very sorry to say that, but it's not.
You say that civil war in Europe, and quite frankly, I'm believing that the center of all the activity and all the devastation probably will be the country of Germany after what Merkel has done on the infiltration of the immigration numbers, absolutely far exceeding what they anticipated, and people are upset, and I think it will be a huge civil war. I'd like you to respond to that.
I would like to prevent it. I would like to see these people peacefully and safely repatriated to the countries they come from. Where
Yes.
they belong.
Yes.
There's no reason for there to be millions of Muslims in Europe. They don't belong there. They don't allow Christians in Saudi Arabia. Why should we allow those people in huge numbers with radical politics, already calling for Sharia law, already raping hundreds of women, sexually harassing others? You know, in Belgium, because Muslims don't like dogs, in fact, they're quite cruel to them, sometimes torturing them. There's a cultural hatred of dogs among Muslims. They now don't allow seeing eye dogs for blind people in Belgium.
Oh, my.
Because the Muslims on the bus are offended by it.
Oh, my.
These people are not good guests. They're more like home invaders. I'm sorry. I'm sure there are many individually good Muslim people maybe who are sick of the aggressiveness of the religion they were raised in, but they're buried in a sea of people who are part of a foreign culture that wants to impose its values on Europe the way Sam Houston and the Texans impose theirs on the Mexicans.
You know, I think there's a person that we can point our finger at and say, you really are the root of this problem. And I'm pointing my finger right back at the Oval Office in Washington, D.C. As Barack Obama smugly sits in his chair, he really has upset the apple cart on this problem. Would you agree with that?
I would say he is largely responsible. Angela Merkel's largely responsible. But let's not let Pope Francis off the hook. And I'm a Catholic, and I'm ashamed to say this. Pope Francis in 2013 called on Europe to accept all refugees from Muslim countries, and he said that if we didn't, we were acting like Cain, who murdered his brother Abel, or Herod, who murdered the infants of Bethlehem. And that was the first real public statement by anyone in a position of authority supporting the idea of an unlimited Muslim influx into Europe. So I trace it back to Pope Francis, who seems to want to trash Europe the way he seems to be trashing my Catholic Church.
You know, John, when you look at the overall picture, and it's a great article in the stream, I want other people to read and follow this. How can they read this article? What's the best way to get on the website and read this story, Trump, Putin, and the Great Christian Piñata?
Please go to stream.org, stream.org, and you also might want to check out my new book, The Politically Incorrect Guide to Catholicism.
Okay. John, one final thought here. Trump, of course, with the selection of great people, I think, and successful people. I wanted to ask you earlier, you know, he's been criticized for putting some of the Wall Street cronies on there, if you will, but these are successful business people. They understand the pluses and the minuses and how to make a great business flourish. What are your thoughts about the criticism against Trump and his picks of people that have been highly successful?
Yeah, I have some sympathy with that criticism because a lot of those people were highly successful by working with big government, by working in a highly regulated crony capitalist environment. I think we do need radical reform on Wall Street, but radical reform in the sense of deregulating it and taking away any government guarantees. If a bank is too big to fail, it's too big to exist, and it should be broken up by antitrust law. And I'm afraid that some of Trump's picks are the kind of people who want the government regulating business but also guaranteeing its losses and bailing it out as we did in 2008. So I sympathize with some of the criticisms of Trump's picks. He's not at all a libertarian. He's not really a free market guy. He's a big business guy, and there is a difference.
But you will concede to me it's a lot better having somebody successful that knows how to make money rather than having a 17 times fired used car salesman from Omaha.
Well, yes. What I would really like to see is people from smaller community banks which operate without the same government protection and who are more in touch with the real free market. So I wish that Donald Trump would listen to people like George Gilder, who was Ronald Reagan's economics guru, instead of some of these crony capitalists.
You know, John, I always look forward to having you on. I want to extend you a very Merry Christmas. And please come back soon. Dr. John Zmirak, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, sir. Thanks. Always look forward to having him on the air and talking about what I've said on this program for a long time. It's not Russia. It's not China. It's the Islamic Jihad and the spread of the Muslim influence all around the world. That is our real worry and concern. We got to get the weather on. Holy smokes, old Santa's elf is over there going, Zab, you got to get the weather. Well, the weather is brought to you by Scarrow's Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome, with Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew. Number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. You know what? They can put together the different Christmas boxes of different meats. Oh, it's delicious. Everything is phenomenal. You just call them, tell them what you'd like in the boxes, and they'll help you out. Scarrow's Meats in Jerome, 324-7657. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we do get one day closer to Christmas. Today's going to be nice, but for the rest of the week, not so much. Partly cloudy skies for today, slightly breezy, expecting a high of 34 tonight, low of 20 tomorrow. Snow showers in the forecast all day long, high of 32, overnight low of 32, so we're not going to see that temperature moving much. For Thursday, winds are going to be picking up, and it's going to be warming up. Rain and snow showers mixed, high of 41 with an overnight low of 31. Snowy and windy for Friday with a high of 32. Then maybe partly cloudy skies for Saturday. Going to be cold, high of 11 with an overnight low of -1. Yesterday's high was 37. The overnight low was 26. That is your weather for Zebeth Ranch.
All right, Gina, thank you very much. Brought to you by Scarrow's Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. You get a hold of them today. I've got time for a couple of calls, so I haven't had a chance to take a lot of calls this morning. We've been so busy with all of our guests and everything. So please run to the phone. Give me a jingle right now at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I really would like to hear from you, so give us a jingle right now if you would. Let's see. Rex Tillerson, as you probably heard by now, is the Secretary of State, and watch out for the Dems. The Democrats are really going to implode over this one, and they're going to threaten this, that, and the other, and for many of the Trump picks in the cabinet, they're going to stall, and it's just going to be kind of a zoo with everybody throwing peanuts at each other over the next couple of weeks and months, so we'll see what happens on that. Rex Tillerson. And let's see what else have we got here this morning. Give me a call. Really, I'd like to talk to you about any subject you want to talk about right now as we go closer and closer to Christmas. And I want to emphasize again that we're going to be over at Denny's restaurant this Thursday, day after tomorrow, for our old-fashioned Christmas party at America's Diner, Denny's restaurant at 611 Overland in Burley. We're going to have the loot in the boot, and I want to ask you to please come by. I don't care if you drop in 10 cents or if you drop in $10. What we do with that loot in the boot is go and help some needy families in the area, those that might be having a tough hill to slide down this winter, and try to help them maybe with some clothing, some food, or whatever. So please, we'll have that loot in the boot over at Denny's on Thursday. Stop in, please. We'd love to see you. Maybe have a little breakfast with us and come on the air and visit. Maybe you've got an ugly Christmas sweater that you can enter our ugly Christmas sweater contest, men and women's division, and we're going to give away a whole bunch of prizes over there, so it should be a lot of fun. So be with us this Thursday at an old-fashioned Christmas at Denny's restaurant, America's Diner in Burley. Going to be good. While we have just a moment, while I wait for your phone call that I can just hear is going to be booming in momentarily, don't forget our friends, our dear friends, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. You know, here's the deal. They've got all the tires you need for any kind of driving conditions. Now, right now, we're looking for more snow. We're looking at really cold temperatures with ice conditions and everything. So check out the tires that are going to get you through safely. They've got them all for you. And the experts there know exactly which ones to recommend. And then, of course, don't forget they've got the best in batteries. You don't want to be sitting out there in the morning trying to get to work with your battery going, not today, man. Well, have your battery checked. And then, if it needs to, throw it away and get yourself a brand new one right there, because they've got all your batteries. They've got all the tire chains. They've got the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts. All of this, but also the best in service. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Okay? The little elf over at our studio, Wheels, have you been Christmas shopping?
Actually, to be honest, we had our Christmas early. My dad, he works over in Colorado in the oil business. He owns his own truck, so he's only home for about a week at a time versus being gone for about a month to a month and a half. It just depends. So he has to be leaving this next weekend, so he won't be back until the 1st, so we decided to actually have our Christmas early as a family.
Oh, my goodness sakes. So you already have started the great festivities of Christmas, and we just want to urge everybody to enjoy. I bet that was nice having, you actually get to celebrate it perhaps longer than most people.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is it's nice because then when my dad's home, then we kind of get that quality family time.
Okay.
And then once he's gone, my family members like my grandma and my aunt and stuff like that, then on Christmas Day when I'm here, I can go spend time with them too. So I kind of get, best of both worlds as far as being with my actual family and also with my extended family.
Well, you are really a spoiled little elf.
Well, I enjoy it. I like my family time, and
Attaboy.
my grandpa goes to different states like Keith does during the winter because for a long time he was a smoker, and he can't really handle the cold weather very well, so I'm glad I get to spend time with him.
Well, I tell you what, you're a real asset to the program, and we appreciate everything you do over there. And Thursday, you're going to be running the board for us as we're over at Denny's for that old-fashioned Christmas party. And I hope your grandma comes down and says hello to us.
Oh, yes, she plans on it. So, and I also have a little something for you and Deanne for being so nice and everything for me, for the past year.
Well, right back at you, my dear friend. But we're going to wrap it up for today, and we want to wish everybody, of course, a Merry Christmas. And we'll be back here again tomorrow morning at 8:06, right here on KBAR 1230, and then streaming live all over the world, ZebBell.com. Until tomorrow morning at 8:06. Remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. Merry Christmas. Wheels, take it away.